And we are working with drying off Valentine, as I've talked before. And we have to see if we can get her to finish drying off. We're having a hard time because she is a high producer, and she just, even yesterday when Lori and I milked her, she still gave us about 1.5 gallons of milk. That's a lot. So we're gonna milk her again today, but this time, and I just found this out on one of my homesteading channels on our groups on YouTube, not YouTube, Facebook. Oh, man, I must not have had enough coffee today. That try giving a little bit of regular powdered rubbed sage in her feed, just a little bit, and that will help to naturally dry her off. So we're gonna give that a try today, as well as some apple cider vinegar. We're noticing she's got the beginnings of mastitis in 1/4, so another person on the same thread, storyline, mentioned try rubbing some cayenne and lard together and put that on her 1/4, just a tiny bit, because the natural heat will draw the blood flow to that 1/4, and the blood is what carries those white blood cells to fight off infection. And when the body is warm, it tends to draw the blood circulation to that area, hence the reason that when she has mastitis, that 1/4 is going to be very hot because it's drawing a lot of blood flow. There's an active infection going on. So if I can mimic the same idea with just a little bit of cayenne pepper and rub that all over her 1/4, her body can naturally fight an infection before it gets real bad. And it's not bad yet at all. But we want to prevent that from happening, especially right now while we're trying to dry her off. So we're going to get that done today. I checked on Minnie this morning a couple minutes before 7 o'clock, and it was reading 0 degrees, and it was kind of funny. These poor cows, they're not suffering at all. They actually look very comfortable and happy in their stalls. Minnie's all by herself, but she's got a big stall, and it's just kind of interesting. When she breathes, you know, there's moist air coming out of her mouth, and that gets on, you know, whatever hay or straw is right in front of her. So that moisture there then had frosted over this morning when I came out to see her, so I could kind of tell where she had her head, because those were little frosty patches. But she looks healthy. She actually, the stalls, both stalls are kind of steaming. Granted, that's probably from poop and manure, but it also means warmth. And that's what I'm looking for right now, which is why I'm not going to clean the stalls right now. I want that warmth in there for them, because these temperatures are just so incredibly cold right now. It's hard on the cows. I have a friend who's going to drop off 2 round bales for me tomorrow, saving me the trip of having to go up and get them. And she's just going to do that for me, which is wonderful. So that'll save me a trip. We'll get those a round bale out in the big bale feeder for the cows. They really prefer eating outside rather than inside anyway. I prefer them eating outside than inside, but I'm going to do what I have to do. The square bales are primarily from Minnie right now. She's due anytime. Her back end is really, really swollen. I'm waiting for 2 things to happen before I know it's go time. Well, kind of 3 things. Ligaments, that one ligament that's still kind of tight, it has started to sink just a little bit. I'm waiting for it to sink way down to expose the tail head, the top of the tail. Normally on the back of a cow, you're going to just see this drop off, and then you can kind of see the tail at the top. Right before a cow has a calf, the whole tail head is going to sink in, so that you're going to be able to see the difference between the tail head and then down and then up to the hip bone. All right, and that's what I'm looking for. Normally you've got the hip bone up to the tail head and then down to the other hip bone. But when they're just getting ready to calf, those ligaments that form this bridge are going to dramatically sink down and then up to the tail head. So it's going to look like you can actually almost wrap your hand around the tail at the top of their body coming down. That's what I'm looking for. That's one of the biggest clues that she's ready. The other one is her teats have to be a lot more full than they are. Now that can happen during labor. So, you know, that's kind of a not real sure. I'm also looking for a lot more mucus discharge. Now the mucus discharge that she had a couple of days ago very well could have been the cervical plug removing. So the cervix inside is starting to relax and open up, getting ready, or dilating, and getting ready to have a calf. And so that plug is to prevent bacteria from getting in. So as it softens, that plug comes out in the form of mucus. A mucus plug that prevents infection from getting in there. It's removed right before the calf is born. About sometimes just hours, sometimes 10 days. So it's just something that we're going to watch. That's going to be one of my biggest clues though. I think that's what she had happen. So now if I start to see a lot more mucus coming out, I know that we've got only hours left. So we're looking for the teats to fill up. Her bag is full. It's hard, it's full, she's huge, she's ready. And looking for those ligaments to drop. Those ligaments are gonna drop probably 12 to 24 hours before she goes into active labor. And that's what I'm waiting on. So I'm really looking for those ligaments first, then the mucus, and then the teats are just going to be indicative to me that we're here, it's now. So, and she's not there yet. Based on how she was progressing over the weekend, she was making huge steps every 24 hours. So we weren't sure, is that going to continue, or is she going to just get to a next phase and then stay there for a while before it's go time? And I think that's what's happening right now. So I'm not getting up through the night right now. I am just watching for those different signs. I am seeing the ligaments drop just slightly. They're no longer bridged. They are actually just a little bit down. I want to see them way down. And I'm going to be looking for signs she's going to stop eating, and she's going to just be kind of cranky and uncomfortable. So that's going to be kind of some things that we're going to be watching a little bit more. We're going to keep an eye on that. Our vet has been put on alert. I'm hoping, I want to get her calving all on video. That would be just so cool, and we've done that before. It's been a lot of fun. But it's also not the worst thing in the world if I go out one morning and there's a calf and he or she is doing fine, is nursing, and Minnie's doing fine and everything's looking great. You know, that's wonderful. I would love to see that. And at which point I'll call the vet and just have him come out to do a well check on Minnie and the calf maybe a day or two after. And because she's a first-time heifer, I probably will not milk her right away. We'll just kind of keep an eye on her. Generally, milk fever and mastitis does not occur in a first-time heifer. What do I mean by first-time heifer? I've been using these terms and people don't understand what they are. A heifer is a female cow that has not had a baby. What's a first-time heifer? In some classifications of dairy cattle, a heifer is not considered a cow until she has reached her third lactation. Part of the reason for that is in the dairy world, milk production is everything. So when a cow reaches her peak lactation amount, in other words, that's how much she's going to produce for her life. This is what she is. That's about her third lactation. So typically in the dairy world, and this varies from region to region, a first-time heifer then would be a heifer that has had her first calf and is on her first lactation. She's not going to produce a lot. With a dairy cow, they generally will produce, like a Jersey or a Holstein, they will generally produce way more than their baby can drink. That's why we use them for milk for us. But in beef cattle, the mothers will generally only produce what their babies are going to use. And in dairy, the dairy world, a first-time heifer is going to still just produce enough milk for her baby, maybe a little extra. Second-time heifer, a female cow that is on her second lactation, is now producing more, but we still haven't seen her maximum potential. So often she's still called a second-time heifer. A couple of reasons for that. If I'm wanting to sell a family milk cow, I can't sell her with a calf by her side and say she produces typically, 6 to 8 gallons of milk every day, and she's an easy calver. If she's only had one calf, that first time calf is not going to be a good representation of how she's going to do calving, because that was just her first time. So I can't sell her for the peak potential at just her first time lactation. Even second time lactation is not as valuable as her third lactation, because now I have a pretty good idea of this is the kind of calves that she's going to have. This is what kind of a mother she typically will be. This is about how much milk she will produce, because I have 2 previous lactations to look back on, so I can now look forward and say this is what I expect her to do. Now on her third lactation, she is officially known as a cow and has reached her maximum potential as far as value goes. Genetics is everything. What kind of a history does her genetics have? So that all plays a role into it. So our first time heifer, we're keeping an eye on. Valentine is going to be 10 years old this coming Sunday. So I have a really good idea what kind of mother she is, what kind of milk she's going to produce, how much she's going to produce, how long she will produce, what kind of a hand milker is she. So these are all things that are well established for Valentine, and she, to me, is my most valuable cow. Because I know how she is. I know she's disease tested and has tested negative for everything. To me, that is a very, very valuable cow. Now, granted, she is a cross and she's not registered. That doesn't matter to me. She's a good, safe family milk cow, and I want whatever heifers she can give me. She's not A2. She is A1, but a lot of people have enjoyed her milk and have had good success with dairy sensitivities. So we're about ready to get started on a new adventure. I'm hoping it works out. It just really depends on how much time I've got. I did a video yesterday that talked about how homesteaders, we just don't have a lot of time to get very much of anything done. But during the wintertime we do. So I homeschool my children, and one of my daughters, Melody, has taken a major interest in cooking and baking, especially baking. She loves to bake, and my sister is a lot like that too. She's an amazing baker. For me, I love cooking. So we've decided to go ahead and try taking 1 week and doing foods from different regions, different countries of the world, and learning how their culture and their region affected the kinds of foods that they would eat. So we've got about 12 different cultural foods that we're going to do. So that'll include everything from their salads, their desserts, their breads. What would they have for breakfast? Why would these things affect what kind of foods that they would have? And so we're going to learn about all these different regions, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So if you want to, I'm going to try to vlog all of this and give you guys a little bit of kind of just a storyline on this. Part of the reason that I think this is really important is for those of you out there that are not from Michigan, your food choices are going to be based not so much on your address as much as they're going to be based on the region. What foods are more available to you than they would be to me? If I'm making a pot roast with carrots and potatoes, maybe that's not as available to you. So maybe you don't have access to vegetables. So we're going to talk about that through our travels to the United Kingdom, where vegetables are a little bit harder for them historically to come by. So why would they use more of their meats? So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about if you don't have access to tomatoes. So we're going to do maybe some a cultural representation of German food, where maybe they didn't grow quite so many tomatoes as Italy would have. And then we're going to do some here in America, but we're going to spread it out so that we'll do like Northeast, which is going to be one of my favorites because I love seafood. And we're going to be doing scallops, and we're going to be doing lobster. That's going to be a good day for me. But then we'll also do some of the West foods. So definitely we'll be doing some steak, and we'll be doing some vegetables that would have been culturally or regionally prolific. So Idaho, yeah, we're going to do some potatoes. The Northwest, we'll do some salmon and some king crab, and we'll just have a lot of fun with that. We're going to do some Mexican foods. One of my curiosity grains that I want to study and learn about is rice. Why is rice so prevalent throughout the world so that so many cultures claim it as a staple in their food? Now, I don't really understand all of this. I want to learn this because my understanding is that I know that rice has to have a very wet area, and that typically it's known for coming from Southeast Asia. So why is Mexican rice a thing? Why in Brazil, where my mom spent a good portion of her life, why was rice and beans a staple in the interior lands of Brazil? How did they get the rice? Where did it come from? Why is rice now becoming so competitive to our potatoes? And just some different things like that. So rice is going to be something I'm really looking forward to learning about. And because I'm homeschooling my children, this is going to be a fun journey for my daughter Melody. She can use this in learning and studying geography and all the different nationalities, the regions, the cultures, some history. So it's just going to be a fun journey for us. So I hope you'll join us. Come Sunday, we're going to start with Italy. So that'll be a fun journey. Okay, I'm going to finish up here, get some editing done. My family's got some things to do, and I've got to get my kitchen cleaned. Have a great day.